How's my hair look?
It looks all right. It looks awesome. It looks amazing. So we flew for the first time.
Yes.
Since your accident today.
Yes.
Talk us through.
Yeah.
How'd it go?
It was great. It is great. We have one more flight. We have a connector. We're in Denver right now. Flew Southwest because we almost always fly Southwest, and felt really well prepared. There's a lot of videos of folks who've done this before. So I watched somebody else on YouTube go like, hey, here's how I do it. And they go through security and they get the full pat down, and then they go get in the plane. And so they just wheel their chair right up to the very first row of seats, because you can kind of squeeze it in there and then transfer to the first row of seats. And so I felt really confident going into it with like, here's what I think I'm going to do. And that's what I did.
What were some of the concerns? I know I have a couple, but what are your concerns? Pre-flight.
Thinking through like, well, you don't know this one. I read through it. Is have a couple of wheelchair tools, we bought a couple wrenches and things to take apart, and so I read through TSA. I'm like, what can I bring on board in my carry-on as far as small tools? And they're like, it has to be under 6 inches. And I was like, I think the wrenches I bought for my 1/2-inch casters were maybe a little longer than that, so I put them in the check bag.
Ah.
Yeah.
The thing that I read through is about batteries, and so I ended up putting an air gauge up in our check bag. And I wish I wouldn't have done that. I want to research that more. Because when we got the wheelchair out, some of the brakes don't engage as well as they did pre-flight. So they're not bad, but lots of variations and gauges. Yeah, we'll get it fixed. But
we are a mile high.
One of those thoughts. We are a mile high. We're in Denver.
Yeah.
So
less air pressure here.
Less air pressure. The parking, we went from Sky Harbor, which apparently is the friendliest airport in America.
It was really accessible.
Super accessible. Coming from Sky Harbor, there was a lot of help. A lot of people wanting to help engage.
Yeah.
Help us out. So that was super nice and useful. We parked in
I have a help story.
Super far off parking lot, one of the economy lots, because it's expensive.
Who we are.
It's expensive to park close. But they had a SkyTram, and we were able to get on the SkyTram really easy, super accessible, no questions asked. It was nice.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, we were like, okay, there's no parking on the first floor and the second floor of the parking garage, and so we're spinning up. Like, oh, okay, third floor's fine, and find a disabled handicap parking spot, and then we're going down the elevator, and right on the first floor, right next to the SkyTram, was like another handicap accessible parking spot. We're like, oh, maybe full doesn't mean full when we're looking for a parking spot for me.
Yeah, that was one of the tips, I guess. If you see full in the parking garage,
it doesn't necessarily mean
the handicap spots are full. Yeah. So it's worth a check. We didn't use the transfer seat. So with Southwest,
right,
we were able to get the wheelchair, and hopefully I can show some B-roll video of that. Get the wheelchair into the plane a little bit, and Vanessa was able to transfer. We were able to take the cushion. They waited for us. It was great.
Yeah,
super really awesome, helpful. Really helpful. Wheelchair seems to be in good shape, but we didn't tape it like a lot of people talk about.
The biggest scratch on it is from me. So, funny help story while I was waiting. So we get in Phoenix. I'm waiting at the gate, and Jeff goes off to find his coffee because that's important. And they have Pete's Coffee. So Pete's Coffee, if you want to sponsor us, we drink a lot of your coffee. And so Jeff's off to buy coffee and bagels, and I have his roll-on bag in my bag, so he doesn't have to carry them all over. And my bags will fit on the back of my chair, but his has this, you got to push it around a little bit. And so I'm like kind of fumbling with that around, trying to get to the pre-board section, and so you're just waiting for their flight. Can I help you with that? I'm like, sure. I'm just trying to get down there. Can you pull this up by my chair? So people are ready and willing to help, and I'm learning to accept that. Even though sometimes I'm like, I want to do it myself. Help
might be the hardest thing to accept. I helped transfer out of the airplane. probably can't get a video of that because I'm helping transfer.
Yeah.
But into the airplane was pretty easy. So not bad at all.
Getting better at my transfers. I should have been videoing those all along from like rehab. My mom's probably got some early videos of me transferring because my transfers are getting much better.
Yeah. So we're only about 5 months out of the surgery.
Yeah, December
7th.
7.
So really crushing it for, dude, the amount of time you've been out of surgery.
Thanks.
It's amazing. So there's a check-in, some B-roll videos.
I like the plane in the background.
Yeah.
I don't know if I like how my hair looks.
It's a little worse for wear when we're going home.
I don't have a brain.
After a long week.
It was a long, great week. Got a big surprise from family, and got to see a bunch of people who have been praying and supporting in lots of ways me through my injury and recovery, and flying again.
So what are the updates on the flight home?
So I've learned things.
It's good to learn.
So one of the things I've learned is that if they ask you, well, so here's how it went. I went to go gate check my wheelchair, because you go up to the service counter and say, hey, I'm going to gate check my wheelchair. Then they print your ticket. And so the lady, when we got on in Lubbock, asked, oh, well, do I put the gate check for your final destination, which is Phoenix, or do I put it for Dallas? And thankfully, I'd watched enough YouTube videos, and Jeff had watched the right YouTube videos to know I gate check it to Dallas, because that way I get back on my plane, because I was on different planes. And so...
Not plane. She gets back on her chair off the plane.
Right, yeah. Because I had to get off that one plane and then get on my chair, and then now we're hanging out in Dallas for a couple of hours before we get on the next plane. And I wanted to make sure I had my chair to roll around the airport in.
Yeah.
And to make sure that I saw it again before we got back home, because the less time I'm apart from my chair, the better. The less chances they have of losing it, right?
And also health reasons.
Yeah. I have my cushion with me, because it's usually sitting for extended periods of time that, like if my butt falls asleep and never, usually that tells you to move around a little bit, and mine doesn't do that so well. So I have to move around and have a cushion that makes sure my boniness doesn't injure my reariness.
It's good. The other interesting thing, especially about Southwest, neither of us knew. We were watching some videos, and a lot of people would transfer in their own chairs. We were able to do that coming up.
Yeah,
I didn't
both
get
flights.
any footage of it, but both flights we were able to transfer.
I got my wheelchair right onto the plane, right under the first row of seats, and then right there, lifted the thing up on the very first row of seats on the left, transferred over, scooted, and away I went. But not so
on the new Southwest Airlines, which is the 800 or the 8 Max 8.
The new ones.
The new ones.
Yeah. Basically, if the very front row of seats, the handle does not flip up, then I cannot get into that row of seats.
And on all the new ones, the handle does not flip up, so you have to use a
aisle chair. I was not expecting my first adventure with an aisle chair to be on this trip, but I'm glad it was, because this trip has been a good, here's how we do all the things, and figuring out how to do all the things.
It was pretty easy, right? You just strap in, They helped you out a lot.
Yeah, there's a lot of help. Probably one of the bigger problems is having too much help at times. People really want to help, which I very much appreciate. But sometimes it's like somebody almost was touching me, and I'm like, I'm really ticklish. And that was a good one. That was a good way to like diffuse the situation of like, you don't need to touch me. It's okay.
Well, and I have a theory that places that have less paraplegics come through probably have a little bit different experience. Just a theory. I don't know if that's true. I grew up in Lubbock, and I can count on
It's
no
a
hands.
paraplegic theory.
Yeah, no hands and no feet. I don't think I ever saw a paraplegic growing up, and that sounds terrible, but Lubbock's pretty isolated.
Yeah.
So when we get to Lubbock, there's a lot of people really wanting to help, and in fact,
And Lubbock's so kind.
they did not let us refute them. They made us accept the help.
Yeah.
So-
No, you will have help. And I to be fair, I should have asked for help going up the ramp coming out of the plane. And I didn't want to. And they helped anyway. So
They helped
it all came out in the wash.
Because they're super nice in Lubbock. So there it is. But overall, man, how's it been flying with Southwest?
Been real good.
I think Southwest has always
still
been
a
our
fan.
favorite airline, even before everything, and I think they do a real good job.
Yeah. Thanks, Southwest.
Thanks, Southwest. Here's some fun plane footage.